In 1914, a giant war known as World War I erupted in Europe and lasted from 1914 to 1918. This war was often dubbed by the media as the war to end all wars. Well, this promise didn't last very long, since we just had another World War almost 20 years after World War I ended. World War I can be tracked all the way here to this empire known as Austria-Hungary. Austria-Hungary thought it was pretty cool, but the people who lived there hated life in Austria-Hungary. So the presumptive heir to the throne, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, decides to go on a nice drive in an open-top car to the city of Sarajevo with his car's ride published on the media. And you can pretty much guess how well that went. On one of the roads, a bunch of assassins stood by and threw bombs at his car, but they missed and blew up a bunch of officers behind him. Others nearby were injured by the blast, but Ferdinand's convoy kept driving as if absolutely nothing had happened. But instead of going into hiding, he decides to go and visit the injured officers in hospital. His driver accidentally takes a wrong turn and coincidentally shows up on the doorsteps of one of the failed assassins named Gavrilo Princip, who shoots him. Austria-Hungary was really mad when they found out, and they thought that the Serbian government had something to do with it, which they kind of did. So Austria-Hungary went to the ally Germany and said, "Hey Germany, we're going to declare war on Serbia." So Germany gives Austria-Hungary some cash and some guns, and then Austria-Hungary prepares to declare war against Serbia. But wait, you can't directly declare war on your enemy nation, otherwise you'll look like the bad guy. So Austria-Hungary writes an ultimatum with a bunch of unacceptable demands and sends it to Serbia. So when Serbia refuses, Austria-Hungary declares war. Serbia is friends with Russia, so if Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, Russia's going to get pulled in too and declare war on Austria-Hungary. Austria-Hungary is friends with Germany, so Germany declares war on Russia, and Russia is friends with France, so France is going to declare war on Germany. Britain decides to stay out of it because they didn't want to end up in a giant scrambled egg like the other nations. But that did not last very long. Germany was more than happy to get pulled into this war because they had a plan for world domination which they had been itching to try. The Schlieffen Plan. The Schlieffen Plan basically worked something like this. They knew that Russia would take some time to mobilize, so within that time, they'd attack and knock out France, then bring back all the troops and knock out Russia. Then we all speak German, and bow down to gold statues with the German Chancellor. Just one problem. France has loads of forts and defenses along the River Rhine, along its German border. And Germany can't waste any time fighting them. So the German commander-in-chief, Helmut von Moltke, decides to go around those defenses through Belgium. Belgium had declared itself neutral at the beginning of the war, but Germany wants to march 750,000 troops through it to get around France's defenses. So on 2nd August, German forces invaded and occupied Luxembourg. Then they sent Belgium an ultimatum, ordering free passage through Belgium. When this was refused, Germany invaded Belgium, in complete violation of its neutrality. The Belgian forces held off the Germans at the Battle of Liege, but the inferior Belgian forces were no match for Germany's big guns, so they had to retreat. It appeared things were going pretty well for Germany, but then Britain shows up and they're like, "Hey, Germany, don't you know you're invading a neutral country?" "Yes." "And you can't invade a neutral country, right?" "Maybe." "Then you must pull your troops out of Belgium now." Probably not." "You know what?" "What?" "You know the rules?" "And so do I." So Britain sent hundreds of thousands of troops into France and Belgium to defend against the Germans, and declared war on Germany on the same date. Britain and France also declared war on Austria-Hungary. This was bad news for Germany, as it pretty much destroyed their hopes of getting a swift victory over France. Nevertheless, the German forces continued to push on through Belgium. According to the Schlieffen Plan, once Germany finishes pushing through Belgium, they'd encircle the French defenses on the Rhine and corner them against the Swiss border. But did that really happen? Let's find out. As the German forces continued to push on through Belgium, they also committed a lot of atrocities along the way, like the burning of Louvain. This caught the attention of the public, since killing civilians was outlawed by the Hague Conventions. But Germany is going to be Germany, so they continue to push on through Belgium. The German advance in the west is initially really successful, and inflicted thousands of casualties on the British and the Belgian sides. and it appeared things were going well for Germany again. But then, guess who just got ready for war? Austria-Hungary? Can you help me out with that? Oh yeah, sure, man. Moscow, here I come. Maybe not. Austria-Hungary attacked Russia, but the Russians counterattacked and pushed the Austrians back to where they came from. So Germany had to send some troops back to help their ally. The Germans do have some luck up north though, and almost completely wiped out Russia's Second Army at the Battle of Tannenberg. About 92,000 Russian forces surrendered. Just in order to give you an idea how weak and clumsy Austria-Hungary was, they even got defeated by tiny Serbia, who repelled their invasion attempts at the Battle of Sirte. Back on the Western Front, the German forces continued to push on through France. The Allies couldn't stand their ground against the German forces, so they had to retreat. And it appeared things were going well for Germany. Absolutely nothing can go wrong now, right? But that's when things started to go wrong. As both sides reached the River Marne, the French commander-in-chief, Joseph Joffre, ordered his troops to stop retreating and to fight back. In the resulting battle, a gap opened up in the German lines. The British and the French then exploited this gap to outflank the Germans, so they had to retreat. Then both sides moved north, trying to outflank each other along the way. This was known as the race to the sea, and it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like.